Hello, ladies and gentlemen, but above all, ladies. I want to respond to the lady. I think it was a woman that was asking if it was a good idea to start couple therapy, and I mentioned that it was not a good idea, but I promised to make a video, but I forgot, and I didn't have time, and I forgot to do. And I spoke briefly this on YouTube, but I don't. I realized that I don't have a full video about couple therapy, so only a few shorts. Couples therapy. What's couple therapy? Well, first of all, we need to understand what is therapy. And when I say therapy, means psychotherapy. So the thing that you go to a professional in psychology or in professional psychology, or eventually in psychiatry. But when we focus in psychology, is a professional that listen to you and try to help with a mental issue. This a mental issue could be something severe as a something schizophrenia or what else uh, psychosis, or something like a little bit milder like anxiety, like stress, or something in between like depression, bipolar disorder, where you are less functional. And anxiety is something that everybody experience, something that is also natural, but could be also debilitating and preventing you to live your life at your extent, or also in a severe case also not to live your life in a functional way at all. So this profession can be psychologists or specialize in psychologists. We call them sometimes social worker or clinical social worker, licensed or counselor or marriage counselor. So there are different uh, shades of psychotherapy or therapy, as we say. And it's very important because some of the stuff that we go through in life, some is told in TV, unless mm, you take the elective class of psychology, is not taught in school. Relationship issue are not talking to. When I say relationship, I refer to romantic relationship, but also to friendship or workplace relationship, any kind of relationship. They're hard, parent-children relationship and other stuff like that. So it's not hard. Sometimes you need a professional that help you even with some of the social event of the life where you need a little bit of help. So I'm talking from here. I hope that you don't mind a little bit of traffic that we hear in the back. So these therapists are professionals. Uh, these are professionals. So it's good to have their opinion, but sometimes don't need to confuse what their role is. So their role is to heal you or to cure you in some extent, but mostly to heal you because they do to talking, not through investigating, and not through stuff like medical. So they, let's say, they cure in a way, but they heal you from your mental issue, or they help you to cope with some part of your mental distress or emotional hard time, basically, if they cannot resolve because they're chronic or they're very hard to resolve, and you don't want um, to resort in drugs, basically in meds, because yeah, they have other side effects. So these are professional. When we have a disagreement with our husband, can be sometimes because our husband does understand us, or that we have a communication issue. So if you have a communication issue, it's true, a therapist can give some advice, but then can you understand that's not the right person to go to, because if you have need to learn how to communicate, you need a communication expert, not a psychology. And I understand, again, in communication there is a let's say a portion that is communication psychology. There is people and crowd psychology that you can use to make your communication more effective. I hope I'm using right now in this video, so not to brag, but to make sure that the good information that I'm giving you, I hope that are good to you, but also that you don't, yeah, when you're listening to me, So this is very important. So sometimes we need to don't give too much our power. I was, and let me just clarify. So I'm really a great um, fan of individual therapy. I think everybody should go to therapy, every 5 6 years for 5 6 sessions, you know, to process the last years of their life if there's something that is accrued. But it's not should not be a long term activity that you need to do. If Even if you are anxious at a given point, you should not rely, because people tend, and by knowing people that are doing that, they tend, even if there are some, I wouldn't say severe, but very well consolidated issue, people with ADHD or CD, they go to therapy. And given point, what is it? You just go to cope, you just need to pay somebody just to talk, because they taught you everything that you can do, and they told you what you can do. And at a given point, you need to work by yourself. And I know that ADHD is harder to, because it's something that is grain on you. But most people of us, we don't have ADHD. We're just a little bit anxious, but this is something that can be related. Now, few days ago, I was listening with my son, actually podcast. It was a religious podcast. This is another reason why I say sometimes you don't need to conflate the role of this professional, including couple therapy. And so this guy was, they were talking about that. I don't know if one of them was like a pastor or something, that, or a deacon of the church, somebody that was more expert of church. So they were talking about some spiritual, doubting, spiritual doubts, how to cope, how to use, and we're talking about Christianity, how to rely on God when you are in this kind of hardship, spiritually, like feeling lonely spiritually, feeling void, this void when you're lack some of your spiritual wholeness. At the given point, one of these guys was talking about, sometimes I feel too much, I give too much, I worry too much what people say. So I say something to somebody, and they don't react in a strange way, and I feel like, I don't know, probably I pissed them off, probably I was, uh, you know I made them think that I'm a bad person. I'm afraid what they're thinking of me. I say something that probably they're sad, they're mad at what I said, probably offended them. So he said, okay, I'm in this overthinking attitude. And the guy, of course, say, he said, what should I do? The other guy that was more expert in spirituality said, okay, you should offer yourself to Jesus, this kind of, which I'm a Christian too, so I agree that you need to have the support of the Holy Spirit and Jesus, and you need to rely on Jesus, and you need to offer Jesus, to be open to Jesus inspiration. Let's call it this way, so I can, it's not just to give you the impression. So you need to pray every day to make sure that you are spiritual, uh, healed. I'm digressing. I digress. But then I told to my child, I posted the video, I say, so see, somebody is using religion for and spirituality for the wrong reason. Overthinking is a really easy issue to, is an issue very, how do you say in English? um, overthinking is an issue that it's very easy to solve. The solution of everything is very easy. Why you need to resort to call, pay a counselor or a social worker or a therapist or Jesus for something that's very easy to resolve? Then I can make another video about what is overthinking. So stay tuned, subscribe or follow me so we can discuss this topic in a different content specifically for overthinking, and I'll give you the solution. But the solution is very easy. You need to understand why that situation, I mean, this case of the person that was insecure of other people thought about him when he acted, as I just say that the word say, the overthink is not because he was missing something. He was insecure. Now you need to understand what makes you insecure. What made you insecure? If it's something that happened in the past, or what is your background or your DNA or brain wiring that makes you insecure. Done that, that is easy, and this is easy to do, really easy. And I mean, therapists can help you, but then you just need to work yourself. It's not that every time that you got insecure, you go to the therapist. What should I do? What should I do? What should I do? You need to do? Act yourself. Now, going back to couples therapy. Couples therapy is something that no, no. If you're not, because couple therapy sometimes are useful, and I'm going to tell you stay. And if what I said to so far makes sense to you, and what I'm saying, please comment that yeah, I agree. Comment down below that you agree. If you don't agree, say, hey, let me know why you don't agree. But with couples therapy, in the situation like in the Facebook group about marriage crisis is not, something. Even so, to the point that you go to the marriage advice or to divorce advice means that the crisis is very high. So you tell me, are you able to communicate with your husband? Do they understand you? They just don't understand you, or they yell at you, or they call you names, or you call them names? Are you in a situation like you are in a short irons that you are fighting at close distance, basically, or you really don't? I, there is a airplane. I never able to, or you don't even like to be around them, or them don't like to be around you, and they probably told you you are in this situation. What do you expect is gonna happen if you go to couples therapy straight? Probably there could be some strategy to go to the couple therapies. It's not gonna work, but there could be some strategy. But what do you think that is gonna happen? You and your person that you have some struggle to communicate with, and probably some resentment, and they call you name, and you close two of these people in a room with a third person, and you haven't talked in a while, and then you start talking, and they start spilling the beans, and you start spilling the beans on your side, and then there is a what's gonna happen? The the best that can happen that you argue in front of a third party, and you're paying this party like $120, probably $200 a session for 45 minutes. You're paying them to watch you argue. Why should you pay somebody to watch you argue when you can argue for free in the comfort of your home? But this is the best scenario, because what can happen that the other person can start telling stuff very bad about you in front of the other person, not because he cares about what is saying or it's important for him to say. It's just because they have a observer, a spectator, and so they're running a show. They're running their show because they're narcissists, or they're vanity, vain. They're vain, and they just want to exhibit and show off their kind of attitude and make you look bad in front of somebody. So they have their audience for their show, and this is an average situation. The worst situation, because when you go to couples therapy, it's because you want to really solve a problem. Now you want to solve a problem. Do they? Let's say that you don't know, but you sure want to solve a problem. So you commit to be honest, and probably the therapist and or the counselor will tell you, okay, be honest, because if you're not honest, you cannot um, really solve a problem. We need really to dig into what's going on in your marriage. So we need also to dig in yourself. What's your character? What's the way that you um, live and operate? Because from that can depend why the communication or the relationship is not good, and how to fix it. That depends on what happened to you and what on the way that you operate. Okay, so you want to be honest, and you are vulnerable because you say things that you wouldn't say in front of other people. You trust the doctor, you trust the professional, and to some extent you wouldn't say some of these things so openly in front of your husband because it's so personal that you feel a little bit, but you think that you are in a safe space. You start being vulnerable, and this is, I remember, this is the worst scenario. The best scenario is that you just do a drama in front of other people for no reason. The second worst is that the other person, insult you in front of some other people just because they want to run a show. And this is the third and the worst situation, that you are vulnerable, and then the other person betray your trust and your vulnerability, listen what you have to say, and go out and tell everybody what you just said that was very private to you, and um, very private and very painful to you to admit and to say. So this is very bad. So you don't want to go to couple therapist in a vulnerable state to talk about your private stuff with somebody you don't have a good trust and good communication yet. Okay, so there are other things to do. I don't want to keep this too long, uh, and it's a really good point. If there is a strategy to go to couple therapy, to do that, I mean, let me just give a spoiler alert, is to do first individual therapy yourself. Now the problem, if you do therapy, both go to therapy independently, and then you prepare yourself to a couple therapy external, I mean, to a different with a different therapist, an independent therapist, an impartial therapist, then there could be some improvement. I would say that can work, because people that have dysfunctional relationship and go to couple therapy, they divorce easy. So if you think that you want to divorce, you can go to couple therapists, and you will be divorced because you find a reason to divorce. But if you know that you want to divorce, why you spend like 5, 6, 700 euro, sorry, dollars for something that you already know? Really, let's discuss this and go ahead and divorce. You don't want divorce without doing your homework, but I mean, don't do homework where another person have the chance to learn something about you that you don't want them to learn. Something private. Or probably you want them to learn that because you really need a friend to share something that it's very intimate to you. But let me rephrase this: you don't want to, if you want to divorce, you don't want to use your time, do your homework in a way that your private state everybody else knows, because your husband betrays your trust in your private, the trust that you gave to them. So This is the next topics that we'll have: how to make a couple therapy, preparation for a couple therapy, and I forgot. And there is another topic that just as I rewatched the video, and there will be another topic for the next video also, about couple therapies and how to this, you know, what to do to decide a divorce. Okay, so I hope this helps. I hope this answered your question, and I wish you all the best. I wish you all the best. Not if you can fix your marriage, good, but I wish you all the best that you'll be happy with this relationship or in the next relationship with somebody that loves you or with yourself. I wish you all the best.